many others as bills rise. 58% of college goers feel that they are financially struggling to get by. 84% are concerned about the general rise in the cost of living. Well, let's speak to Molly, who is a university student in her second year, and also to Deenie Lee, the co-founder of the property marketing strategist who conducted the research into the concerns that students have for energy prices and the cost of living. Thank you to both of you for being here. Molly, talk to me about what you're facing right now, because I understand you've had to make some pretty stark choices about what you do for your second year.
Yeah, so instead of living off campus, it's much cheaper to live on campus on a university accommodation. The prices of just everything are too much for everyone. Even just the prices of food bills are way higher than they were even just a year ago. So I think all around are really struggling.
What are your biggest costs right now? Because we know as a student, you might be able to do, a bit of work outside of your university lectures and your studying, but talk to me about where all your money is going right now.
I think, honestly, my top funds are just living, and I think something a lot of people don't consider is the travelling that university students have to do. So I have to commute quite far when I want to visit my family. That's really expensive to do. So I think just everyday costs are so much higher, and yeah, I think it's really important for people to consider how uni students are struggling.
Yeah, of course. Deenie, let me bring you in at this point, because you've been looking at the numbers here, haven't you? 58% of those students feel that they're struggling to get by financially. And I touched on it there with Molly. You found that 11% work over 31 hours a week. That's nearly a full-time job while studying.
Absolutely, and I think this is the key, that this was happening before the recent news today and the crisis that's happening, and we're moving into a new academic year. And as you say, many were already working, and there's not much work they can do. They need to be allowed to concentrate on their futures, on their studies. And I guess we've got a concern that there's a long-term impact for students that aren't really able to enjoy the same breadth of experience at university with all the pressures that they're under. And I think that there was already a mental health crisis in young people pre-pandemic. The pandemic has added to that, and now this cost of living is going to add to that even further. And we found that 85% who were financially struggling hadn't spoken to their accommodation provider or landlord to speak about their concerns. And I guess our plea is that we really need to open this dialogue and communication to really provide the support to young people so they can make the most out of their careers and the start of their independent adult life.
Yeah, and one would imagine, given what's going on right across society in terms of costs going up and inflation at these record 40-year highs, I wonder how receptive landlords would be to students coming to them and saying, hang on, can you cut my rent or try and bring down my energy bills?
I think it's about working together, and I think a lot of landlords and accommodation providers are open to that conversation. I think if you're not going to get anywhere by burying your head under the sand, and I think if there is support out there, there's university support out there, and I think there's certain ways that providers can work with students to really help them deal with the challenges they're having. And I think that's where we need to get to ensure that people don't feel that they need to bury their head, that they have got a route to speak to people about their concerns.
Yeah, Molly, what are you able to do? Are you able to work any more hours? Are you able to try and kind of cut your expenses somehow? Because we know going to university is an expensive business anyway, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think for me, you just have to be as cautious as anyone else with your spending. There's not much you can do about the current bills that we're facing. We just kind of have to deal with that. But when I'm buying things, I'm being proactive to make sure I'm getting like the best deal possible, even looking at, let's just say, Wi-Fi broadband. I had to do quite a bit of research last year to find the best one.
And Deenie mentioned it there, Molly. I wonder how much of your sort of social life you're having to curtail as well, because, people might think, of course, that should be the first thing you give up, going out for a drink in the evening. But that is such an important part of the social element of university, and it's where you gain a lot of life skills as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think, everyone has had to stop seeing their friends as much as they'd like to. it's just really difficult for everyone, and it's definitely not the university experience even pre-COVID.
Yeah, and your experience, one would assume, has also been pretty different because of COVID. Talk to me a little bit about that. You've managed just to get through that, huge social upheaval. How are you coping now?
Much better. I really appreciate classes in person. I think everyone kind of struggled with online classes, had its perks, but overall, I think most people much prefer going into a lecture hall and seeing people face to face.
Yeah, of course. And Deenie, what are people telling you that they're able to do here? Is there any answer for these students who are finding it really tough?
I think it's tough for everyone. It's tough for students, and all we can as a society do is try and open the avenues of help that we can, and try and support, and really, we have a responsibility to let this generation have a student experience like we all had, and give them the best start in their life. And what we're concerned about is that they're going to be a generation that aren't given the same opportunities that we had to have that breadth of on-campus student experience that we all had.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really good to talk to you both. Thanks so much to Deenie and to Molly. Thank you. And Molly, best of luck with your studies, even though things are a bit tough right now. But thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you.